Hey guys, what is going on? Inception here, and welcome to another video. Today we are going to be doing some Team of the Season squad builders. Now, I've done a series, not a series, but I've done a video similar to this one before, where I basically did different types of teams that are meta squads, that are players that are definitely usable in their own right. So now that we have the EFL Team of the Season, and we also have the Team of the Season most consistent, mostly the Team of the Season most consistent, we're going to be looking at some squads that we can make that are meta squads that will have a good balance in your team, but it'll also be really fun to use because they actually have all the required stats to actually have fun with the players. So if the video is long, I guess it's just a fun video to make, fun concept like the last one, the last squad build that we did, where we just made all these different meta teams. So we're gonna get started. I'm gonna go ahead and open up a page here for the Team of the Season. So let me just do that real quick. So these are the Team of the Season players that we're going to look at, right? So in terms of players that I would personally put in my squad, and you guys have to give me your opinion about this. Do you guys want me to put players like PK, Martinez, or Busquets in the team? Because they're not considered meta for me because they're too slow. But if you guys want me to make squads with them in the team, be sure to let me know, and I'll definitely look into doing all that. But we're going to go start off, right, with someone like Chiellini. So with Chiellini, we have a player who is low-high work rate. So if we put Chiellini in the squad, we're going to go ahead and put his Team of the Season in the team. So we got his Team of the Season, right? So there's a couple things you can do with Chiellini. And the thing is, guys, is before the game starts, you can play with whatever formation you want as long as you have the right players to play whatever formation you want. So the best formation that you can possibly use, generally speaking, that gives you the most chemistry most of the times, is the 4-3-2-1. Reason being is because if you get that triple link with your players, you can actually have some very solid squads. So this is a low-high work-rated Chiellini card that is going to be playing as a left center back. Now, the players that you put in your other positions will depend on the formation that you want. So if you want to use a 4-1-2-2, you need someone who has a good defensive presence who's going to be playing in the middle of the field for you, right? And then you want two center mids that are good at attacking and defending. You want one of your left forward, right forward, or striker to be the cam, and then your left forward, right forward striker is going to be your two strikers, right? So if you want to start this team off with a 4-1-2-2, on the left back, in the left back position, you can go ahead and put in someone like Alexandro, right? So he has this version of the card, which is an actual left back, right? You could put him in the team. So right now you got two things you can work with. You can work with Italian players, or you can work with Brazilian players. So if we go ahead and just search, I'm going to actually open up Footbin in another thing to open up so we can search up player lists. So now that we have the player list open, we're going to go ahead and go to FIFA 18 players. We're going to go to the leagues, and we're going to go to Calcio A here. So Calcio A is this one. Now, we're going to go ahead and pick the position to be, you know, a center mid of some sorts, right? So we got players like Marek Hamsik, Paulo Dybala, Marek Hamsik again, Paulo Dybala, Milinkovic-Savic, Pjanic, Khedira, Perisic, so on and so forth, right? So with the links that you currently have for a team like this, right? We're going to take this out. A team like this where you have Alexandro and Chiellini in the squad, you can put in Marek Hamsik. Now, you won't get the full chemistry, so if you put Marek Hamsik in the team, you really need to revolve the team around a Calcio A type squad. Because if you put Milinkovic-Savic and Hamsik in the team, you'll notice that they don't get the strongest links, right? So let's just say, for instance, you put Hamsik in. Hamsik would be a very good player to put in the game, because if you look at Hamsik's specific stats, and I don't think they show here in specific, you'll actually notice that he has a 5-star weak foot. So if you play him as a left center mid, he'll play that role really well, because if you look at his traits, he also has a long shot taker. So if he has a 5-star weak foot and he can take really good long shots, it'll be actually really nice to keep him on the left center mid. The thing about this team so far is that you could put him on the other side if you really wanted to too. If you could definitely put him on this side and then go from there. So now that we have a center mid in a 4-1-2-2 that is a high medium player, that's one of your center mids. Now, whether or not you want to play Hamsik as one of your CDMs, just realize that he will be more attacking oriented, right? So you got to be careful with those. Now, for the center midfield, you want someone who has good defensive stats in general. So if we can go ahead and filter this out here, where we have someone who's very good at defending, we have players like Milinkovic-Savic, Alan, Blaise Matuidi, Florenzi, Rajan Angolan, right? So this is down to your playstyle. So For me personally, the only pure usable CDM that is the rightful choice in this situation would be Alon, because if you look at Alon's card, he is medium high in work rate, so medium attacking, high defensive, and he's very good in the interceptions and aggression stats. Very good defensive stats in general, and very good stamina. He won't win the ball for you in the air, right? So that's you're going to be lacking in that. But for a player that's going to be sticking to the position he's supposed to be in, he's going to do that job really well. And for 21K, you can't really go wrong with it, right? So for someone who's going to have a decent defensive presence for you, this is the type of player that you should probably get. Obviously, if they're going to be playing as your CDM, it'd be preferable to give them good defensive stats as well as pace, right? So Alon would fit that role really nicely. You can ask him to be whatever CDM you want. You can tell him to cut passing lanes and be aggressive, where, you know, his aggression and interceptions are really high, so he'll do a good job of that. Something similar to like Conte, right? Conte would be very similar in those aspects too. So Alon would be a card that would be pretty nice to have in the CDM role, right? So right now, with the links that you have to work with, if you really want to, you can actually start off the game like this, because right now, Alon already gets full chemistry, Hamza gets the green chemistry. All he needs is another green chemistry, and then you can do whatever you want with that squad, right? So let's just say, for instance, you put Milinkovic-Savic in a team, right? You have Milinkovic-Savic, who's now a right center mid, right? So for those of you who like Milinkovic-Savic and don't mind his balance and agility being poor, because that, for me, it affects me a lot personally. If you guys are cool with his stats being like that, then he's going to be a very good center mid for you, right? Because the ideal way to run this squad is like this, right? Or because Milinkovic-Savic's card, which we're actually going to check over here, Milinkovic-Savic's card, Milinkovic. He has a 4-star weak foot with 4-star skills. So he would also be nice to have on the right center mid side. Good at long shots, so on and so forth, right? So you can put Milinkovic-Savic there. You can actually start the team like this if you really wanted to, right? Now, because Chiellini is a low-high work-rated player, you have to take a lot of things into consideration. He is a low-pressure type of attacker, so he's very linear to how he's going to play. You can make your pressure and aggression higher, but he will still play very similar to the work rates that he has. So if you have Chiellini being low-high and you want your other center back to be high-low or high-high, like let's just say, for instance, you got Koulibaly, right? This Koulibaly card. This Koulibaly card is high work rate. So you may sometimes notice an imbalance in your team where the middle sometimes opens up in odd ways because you have one player who's aggressive and one player who isn't. Now, sometimes this actually works to your benefit, because what happens is if you have one player who aggressively pushes up and defends and you have the one player staying back, you will technically have another CDM, but then you'll have a back three with a little bit of an open space on the side, right? So you have to be very careful with who you select. This can totally work depending on your game style and how you want your players to move. If you don't want your players to move like this, the other ideal center back to get would be someone like Bonucci, right? Because if we look at Bonucci's card, he has very good card stats in general. If we look at his acceleration and sprint speed, his acceleration isn't that great, but his sprint speed is good. His agility and balance is a little bit low, but he makes up for it a lot in the other stats. Crazy defensive stats, nice passing stats, crazy physical stats. The 58 balance and the 67 agility with the 72 acceleration will make him a center back that isn't that great, but also not that bad. For me personally, to save yourself some money, it would probably be more ideal to get someone like Manolas. Because if you put Manolas in the team, if you put Manolas in the team, he's low-high work rated, and he's actually a good center back. He's very similar to someone like Eric Bailly in the sense of like he's a cheap player that actually does get the job done. Because if we look at his actual card stats, he has 78 accelerations, 81 sprint speed, with 68 agility and 60 balance. Now this isn't that crazy good either, but that's decent for a center back. It's the acceleration that helps with being able to move left and right more smoothly, right? So acceleration and sprint speed being around the 80s is what helps a player move left and right more smoothly. If his balance was like 54, 55, it would be a little bit harder to use this guy. But 68 agility definitely helps with the poor balance as well. So for a center back, that's very nice to have. In regards to right backs, the only one that comes to mind, cheap options, are players like Cancelo and stuff, right? So let's just say, for instance, we go to the right back position. The first thing you got to look for with a right back is the pace, right? You don't want a player that is going to play that role for you badly. I'm not sure why this is showing up like this because, oh, it's going from lowest to highest. That's interesting. There we go. So we have players like Bruno Perez, João Cancelo, Florenzi, and so on and so forth. So right now there's not really that many good right backs to go by. We have someone like Perez, but if you look at Perez's card stats, right, he is a decent right back, but he's more of a pace demon, right? So like on the ball, he's going to feel very nice. Off the ball, he's going to feel very nice. But he'll probably be the most ideal right back to get. But for 70K, you may not want to spend that much for a right back. It's really up to you, right? I think I would personally put Bruno Perez over Cancelo in the team for sure. But if you don't want to go with that, you can totally go with Cancelo, because now with what you got here is you have you may have a little bit of imbalance. So it depends on how you play, like I said, right? You have high medium with your two center mids, and you have a medium high with your CDM. So you have a good balance there in the midfield. Your back four may have a spacing issue between them and the midfield, right? So again, it really depends on how your tactics and your instructions are set up, but this could actually work to your benefit more on the attacking front, where you outscore your opponents more than you're playing like a regular game of football where you're scoring and maybe defending sometimes. In FIFA, you can try to just outscore them, right? In regards to goalkeepers, as you guys know, I'm very, thing with goalkeepers, because if a goalie doesn't have a leg save trait, I don't really like them that much. But players who don't have the leg save trait but are actually quite decent are players like Handanovic. So we're going to go ahead and look at the goalkeepers from the Calcio A, right? We have players like Donnarumma and Handanovic. Gigi Buffon, I'm not a huge fan of. Everybody else, not a huge fan of. Sirigu, I think Sirigu may have the leg save trait, if I'm not mistaken. I know maybe his regular versions had it, so I'm pretty sure the Inform would also have it. But if you guys were going to select a goalkeeper, I would probably select between Donnarumma and Handanovic. If you go with Donnarumma, his card stats in general, if we look at them, he has 86 positioning while also being 6'5" with 92 reflexes. So this guy's going to play the role really well for you. Now, obviously, he doesn't have the leg save trait, but this guy is going to be an awesome goalkeeper for you, right? Now, the way that this team is set up right now, right? Let's see if we can get the full chemistry here. So Milinkovic-Savic, this doesn't get full chemistry. So let's see if we can actually get another midfielder from the Calcio A. That'd be decent. So we're going to go ahead and do this. So Felipe Anderson's Alessandro Florenzi. So you can go with Alessandro Florenzi if you really wanted to as well, right? So with Alessandro Florenzi, for birthday card, you actually have a very good balance of being able to do everything and also have the pace. It's nice that he has the aggression and interceptions too. So if you really want to with your teams, this is how I would set up my teams if I wasn't like so bored with gameplay and stuff, right? So this is Florenzi. You have full chemistry links from the back four to the midfield. So if you really want to, you can now switch up your top side to be a different nationality, right? So let's just say, for instance, we have someone like Neymar that you want to put in the team, right? So if you put Neymar in the squad, you could put him here. He has the weak link over here to Alan. So he only gets 7 chemistry. He doesn't have the other link. But if you put in Mbappe as a card, right, his OTW, you now get that full chemistry link. So you got players. Your Neymar will probably be your striker or your cam, because you want someone who's decent at passing, right? And someone who has decent height and stuff too. So Neymar makes a fantastic cam, right? You can put Neymar there with Mbappe. You got that full chemistry link there going on, right? Now, for your right forward position, you don't have to worry about Mbappe or Neymar anymore. You can now put a right forward, right, from the Calcio A to make your team work in a certain way. So let's just say, for instance, you want to put, let's just see who are some selections in, right? So right now you're looking at someone who's either potentially going to play your cam or your striker. So we're going to go ahead and search up the right forward, right wing spot. So we got Jose Callejon, Cuadrado. These aren't necessarily ideal players. So it looks like in regards to the Calcio A, we're actually going to search up, it's searching up by pace right now, that's why. So we're going to clear all, and we're going to start this up again. I might have been able to do that a little bit quicker, so I do apologize for that. So Calcio A, positions in the right mid, right wing forward, so on and so forth. So we have Paulo Dybala, right? You could put Paulo Dybala in the squad, so now you have to see, right? He works with Juve and Argentina with Calcio A. So if you put Dybala in this squad, he will get 7 chemistry. He won't get full chemistry. So this is completely down to you as to whether or not you want to be able to get him on 100 chemistry or not, right? So because he doesn't have 100 chemistry, you can decide, right, and put someone like Blaise Matuidi in the team, right? But if you put Blaise Matuidi in the team, you'll be missing a little bit, some concepts here and there. So with Blaise Matuidi's card, his inform card in particular, he's lacking in the shooting, the passing, and the dribbling a little bit, right? In terms of the players that exist nowadays, because if we're going to replace him in Florenzi, we need to replace him with someone who's also very good, right? So right now, this doesn't really work out that well, right? So we would have to remove him, right? Now, if the formation doesn't work for you in terms of the chemistry links that you want, you could try to change the formation. Other formations that would kind of work out too are like the 4-5-1. I think it's this variation of the 4-5-1, right? So with this variation of the 4-5-1, you can put Mbappe here with that French link. You can put Alon over here at the bottom, Hamsik over here at the top. You have to like mix and match with a lot of different players, right? You can also do something interesting with this where your Hamsik plays on lower chemistry, right? But then you could put someone like Fabinho in the team, right? Who would get that full chemistry. So it's about like compensation, right? So this right here, you would be using Fabinho as one of your center mids or your CDM. Again, it all depends on the formation that you're using, right? We're going to go back to the 4-3-2-1 though, because this just looks like it's going all over the place at this point, right? So we're going to put Neymar back here, Mbappe over here. We're going to take out Fabinho for now, and we're going to work with the Calcio A. So this is how the team is set up, right? Like I said, in the right forward position, it wouldn't be a bad thing to put Dybala in that position because he actually does have very good card stats. Because if we look at his stats in general, we're going to go ahead and take a look at them here. Right? If you get the right wing version of the card and you play him on 7 chemistry with 100 chem squad, because that team in general would get 100 chemistry, and you gave him a 100 card, he would still get all the necessary boosts to make him an absolute beast, right? So if you look at the card, 94 pace, 96 shooting, 87 passing, 93 dribbling, the card still looks fantastic. So it wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing to have him on 7 chemistry. So this would be an ITL team. So this is how it would start off before you got into the game. Now, if you got into the game, right, and you wanted to, like I said earlier in the video, you wanted to start off with the 4-1-2-2 bracket 2, which we're going to switch to right now. The way that this team would probably set up would be you want Dybala as your left striker, you want Mbappe as your right striker, Neymar as your cam, Florenzi being right-footed with no good weak foot, you want to put him on the right side, high-medium work rates with another high-medium work rate, right? Hamsik, 5-star weak foot, nice to have on the side, good at long shots and stuff. If we look at Florenzi's card, we're going to see if he actually has any traits, and I'm pretty sure he has the long shot trait because I took one with him the other day. He doesn't even have the long shot trait, but he does have good long shots in general, but it's not going to be as consistent as Hamsik's, right? This is how your team can set up in the game, right? Again, you can switch out Cancelo, you can put in someone like Perez, right? Make your team look very fancy, right? And it looks like a very solid squad, a good meta team. Now, some things you may be missing in certain areas is the physical with Dybala. It's more noticeable on Dybala. It's not as noticeable on Neymar's card because Neymar is a beast at everything else. Mbappe's card, his physical is okay, but his height kind of hinders him a little bit. But everything else, there's a good balance, right? You want to try to get your team as perfect as it can possibly be. That's like the ideal thing that you need to do when you're making these squads. Let's just go back to the team again. So let's just say, for instance, right, you wanted to use a 4-2-3-1 with this squad. If you wanted to do that, it's possible, right? You want to have a team that you can rotate to any formation and not have to make any subs. So if you were to do that, right, you can switch to the 4-2-3-1 bracket 2. And if you were to do this, you could put Florenzi off to the side there, Hamsik as a CDM, Dybala off to the left side, right? And then Mbappe as your striker with Neymar as your camp. You have a very good balance here working for you, right? You don't have to switch anything, right? You just have to put the players in it. Well, you have to switch the players obviously in their positions, but look at how the team is set up right now. You have a right-footed player on the right side with good defensive stats. He can attack like a monster. Left-footed player on the left side. If we actually look at his card stats and you look at his stamina, 87 stamina, so you can tell him to do whatever you want, right? Hamzik left-footed with decent defensive presence, playing as a left center defensive mid. Neymar Cam with good passing, good stats in general, and then Mbappe striker, who's going to be very consistent for you because he does have 94 finishing with 86 composure. So a nice team to work with, man. You have so much to work with this formation. Again, if you want to switch it up to another formation, right, without having to make any subs whatsoever, you can do that again. You put Hamzik over here on the side, right? You put Alan here, Dybala left striker, Mbappe right striker, and then you can work it out like this. If you really want to, you could put Dybala off to the side here, and then Neymar off to the right side or to the left side because he does have the 5-star weak foot, and work it like this. So again, another formation that you can switch to. For 3 million coins, this is not a bad team at all, because 3 million coins nowadays is not really hard to come by. There's so many teams that have like 30 million coins in their squad, right? So not a hard team to come by nowadays, right? Now, again, if you want to have a good balance in your team, you can actually get all these players in your club, right? And they would still get full chemistry with their regular cards, except for Dybala. So you would have to kind of switch around with the right forward in that instance and switch to somebody else. But very good balanced team. You can work with whatever you want to. You got good stats in each position. So we're going to go ahead and work with something else, right? So we're going to go back to the squad builder, and we're going to start off with the 4-3-2-1. 4-3-2-1 right here. So let's just go to another card. So let's see another card that would be interesting for people, right? So Fabinho, obviously. A couple cards here with Jovinko, Robertson. So these are the team of the season most consistent cards, right? Community, there we go. So with Fabinho, there's a lot of links that you can work with. But I don't want to do Fabinho because it's very similar to the Neymar situation. Let's just say, for instance, you want to put maybe Kevin Prince Boateng in your team, or even Vardy in your team. Let's see if we can actually fit both of them in the squad, which may not actually be possible unless we make a full Bundesliga side for Boateng with Vardy up top with somebody else. It might be possible, actually, because if we actually put Vardy in the team, right, we're gonna. It's all about trying to get that as much meta as you can possibly get. But obviously, the thing is, guys, is that you're always gonna be missing certain aspects when you're making teams like this, right? Unless you're buying icons, it's very hard to get full meta, right? We're talking about the weak foot, the defending, the attacking. Everything is relevant in the game, right? So we could try to put Sterling as one of your cams, right? So if you really want to, you can start off like this. So now you got the links with Sterling and Vardy together. So now you no longer have to worry about that. So let's just see if we can put Kevin Prince Boateng in the team. So Kevin Prince Boateng has this version of his card, which actually has good defensive stats. So as a midfielder, this card actually looks fantastic, right? Now, the team that he plays for here, I need to actually search because I can't remember the team for the life of me. His team is Frankfurt, right? So we're going to go ahead and look for cards that play for Frankfurt in general. So we're going to go to players here. We're going to go to leagues. This is the Bundesliga. And we're going to look for teams that play for the Bundesliga. And it's going to be Frankfurt right here. So in regards to the players that they currently have, they honestly have absolutely nothing to work with. Also, his nationality doesn't really help the situation either, right? So because you want to be able to fit a Boateng in your team, you might have to only rock with a Bundesliga team unless you have legends in your team. So let's just see if we can get someone from Ghana who's actually in a good position and a good player in general. So we got Kevin Prince Boateng, we got Asamoah. So with Asamoah, you can work with a Calcio A team as well as work Boateng into the squad as well, which would actually be quite decent too. That actually wouldn't be that bad as well. Christian Natsu, everybody else, not very good. So with Boateng's card, you would have to work around Bundesliga. So from the center mid to the left forward to the left back, center back, it would have to be Bundesliga oriented. So with Vardy's card, we would have to check, and this is just off the top of my head, guys, in terms of building squads that would be fun, that are somewhat meta, right? We're going to go look for an English player who plays in the Bundesliga, which, to be honest, I can't really think of any right now at the top of my head. There's not that many players at all. I didn't know that Reece Oxford actually got transferred. That's interesting. Boateng, he's a tough guy to get some chemistry with if you want to have some good players in your team. So right now, not off to a fantastic start, but we're going to see if we can work around it, right? So let's just see some CDMs. CDMs in the Bundesliga that would be good to have. So Bundesliga CDM, we want someone that has good defensive stats. That's the important thing here. We have someone like Lars Bender who can play, who is high work rate. So that depends on your play style. We don't seem to have anybody who is medium high unless it's Sven Bender with decent stats, actually. Let's see a Sven Bender's card. Oh, this is an upgrade, so that's not really going to count in this situation. Sven Bender would be good, though, but I think that's just a temporary boost on his card, so that wouldn't really work out for too long, right? So with the Bundesliga, it's very unfortunate because you would actually have to use a medium or a high work rated player. So you would have to put someone like Lars Bender in the team, who wouldn't be that bad because his acceleration, sprint speed, agility, and balance isn't terrible for someone who's going to be playing as a CDM. But if he does attack sometimes, he's going to be a little bit annoying. But let's just see if we could put Lars Bender in the squad and work something out with that. So if we put Lars Bender in the team, right, we have this to work with. At the side here, we can put in Marco Reus, left mid card, right? And that way you get the full Bundesliga chemistry here. So we could put someone like Boateng as one of your center backs with Alaba off here to the side. Doesn't matter which version of Alaba's card. So this is good. So you have some links to work with. Now, if you want to get the full chemistry on Boateng and you want to mix and match with the other side, this looks really good right now, right? With Sterling, all you really need with him is to get a center mid from the EPL that's decent, right? So let's just go to the EPL and see if they have any decent center midfielders that will give you good chemistry links with other players that are also good, right? So we can look at players from the EPL. So let me see if is it the English Premier League? English Premier League? I'm not really sure if it's called the English Premier League. EFL, or is it just called the Premier League? It might be called the Premier League. Yes, just Premier League. So we go to Premier League, right? You have players like Kevin De Bruyne, who's from Man City, so you can work really well with that, right? You got Kevin De Bruyne, N'Golo Kanté, who is French, so you can work with the French links as well. Kevin De Bruyne, Eden Hazard, David Silva, Paul Pogba. The most ideal player that you can probably get in this situation that you're in right now is Paul Pogba. I'll show you guys why, right? So if you were to get Paul Pogba in your team, you have someone who has decent defensive stats, not in the 79s or anything, but his informs are significantly better than his regular cards. I will say that right off the top of my head. You can get a good center back in someone like Eric Bailly, right? And you can get a good fullback in someone like Valencia, right? So you have a decent balance here to work with, right? It's not necessarily perfect because what I would actually personally do is, since Royce's left forward card is a little bit low, you would kind of want to get the center forward card because the base card stats would still be upgraded. So just hear me on this. He would get 7 chemistry, Marco Reus, right? He would get 7 chemistry in the left forward position. But if you get Marco Reus in your team, right, you have someone who has improved in certain stats that will help you a lot, right? So if you give him a hunter card, his pace will be better. If you give him a sniper card, his dribbling will be better, so on and so forth, right? If you really want his stamina to be better, which, to be fair, 74 isn't terrible, and you're playing him off as a cam, you can do that, right? So someone who has decent passing with a good weak foot, good skill moves, 4-star, with decent pace, because if we look at Royce's card and we give him... oh, I can't search because the filter is here. We're going to take the filter off just really quickly. If we put Reus in the team, and I can't even do that from here. If we put Reus in the team and we get a center forward version of his card, if we play him on 7 chemistry with Hunter, he still gets all the necessary boosts to make him a fantastic card, right? So this is better to have than his regular, because you have to understand that they boost passing, dribbling, and all those things too to make the card significantly better. Because if you look, right, They improve his agility and balance, which is huge. Reactions, ball control, dribbling, huge things, right? Passing being a +4, +3 is very, very huge, right? -2 in the finishing from a regular Royce, not necessarily a bad thing to do, right? So the stat upgrades, even with the 7 chemistry, just makes more sense because everything else is upgraded. You're still able to upgrade the shooting and the pace, but with only 7 chemistry, which would be perfectly fine, right? So this is another ideal team to use. So the way that this team would set up in game, right? If you want to use a squad like this that's on full chemistry, well, except for Royce, obviously, but this team would be on full chemistry with the right man. Actually, no, it wouldn't because Sven Bender actually gets 7 chemistry as well. I just took that in. I mean, for fun, you can totally put Gundogan, but Gundogan is not necessarily a good player to use that much, in my opinion. Doesn't Luis Gustavo actually have a card, or does he play for Marseille right now? He does play for Marseille because he used to play for Wolfsburg, I think, but I guess he's not there anymore. So that's a little bit unfortunate because if we put Sven Bender in the team, you could put a German, like you could put someone like Gundogan there, but Gundogan doesn't really have defensive stats. So if we put a German player from the EPL, they don't really have that much to work with. I mean, you could put Leroy Sané. That's actually interesting. You can totally put Leroy Sané in there. So let's see if we could get some leagues here and put the Premier League in here. Okay, so if you have this, you have Ilkay Gundogan, Mustafi. Okay, so you basically don't have much. Oh, there you go. You have someone like Emre Can, right? So obviously, if you put Emre Can in the team, the situation with that would be, you know, you would play him as a CDM, I would say. Yeah, but then that would not be worth it, to be honest, because then you have Sven Bender in the team as well. So maybe not necessarily having Emre Can would be a good idea. Maybe, let's see if we can work something out here. So if we put Boateng in the team, it's Boateng that's ruining everything because of the country links and the club links, right? If you take out, maybe if you switch to a 4, the fun thing about this is like working it out with the players that you have, right? So let's just say, for instance, you switch to maybe like maybe actually playing it right away with a narrow formation might actually work. So if we put, no, it doesn't work because of Sven Bender here. Boateng doesn't get full chemistry. We could try the 4-5-1. 4-5-1 is a pretty decent formation to get some chemistry with. So Sven Bender would play over here. Raheem Sterling off to this side. Pogba off to this side. Pogba doesn't get the full green links with Bailly and Valencia, so that is already a problem. So that formation wouldn't work out either. 4-2-2, 4-3-1-2, 4-3-3. Sometimes the 4-3-3 variations work out nicely. So Vardy would be over here. Sterling would be off to the right side, giving him that full chemistry. Pogba would get the full chemistry here with Bailly and Valencia, with Sterling giving him that extra chemistry as well. Boateng doesn't get chemistry, so to do that, we would have to do this. We would have to take out this card. I'm at the stage where I'd probably even put, I would probably even play Boateng on 7 chemistry, because if you do that, right, even you could even start with a 4-3-2-1 and you'd be able to put Royce in the team, because Boateng with 7 chemistry would still be good. You put Royce in the team as a center forward card, right? He would get 7 chemistry. Royce would get full chemistry. So this would actually work out as well. You can actually do this and play Boateng on 7 chemistry as well as Royce on 7 chemistry. They would all these cards are on 9 chemistry. Is there a way to mass toggle loyalty on or off? Oh, so if you toggle loyalty on. So that's with loyalty. So they do get 100 chemistry, right? So the way that this team can set up in the game with the 4-1-2-1-2, if you wanted to set it up with the 4-1-2-1-2, is you would put Bender as your CDM, Boateng off to the left side, Vardy as one of your strikers, and then you can rotate between Royce and Sterling to see who you think is a better cam. But I think that having Royce as a striker would benefit a little bit more because he just feels more like a striker than Sterling does, with better shooting as well. Sterling would actually play the role as a cam really nicely because he's super fast and he can come back and push forward really nicely. If we look at his stamina, he also has 88 stamina, which is quite nice to have for someone that can be pushing up, pushing back really nicely. So you got to do the best you can to get meta in each position with the different cards you want to put in your team, right? So with left back, Alaba, we got a high, medium work rated player with Valencia, who is high, high work rated. Bailly and Boateng work really nicely with each other, medium, high, and medium, medium. But you can notice the imbalance sometimes, but it depends on how you defend. Now, in order for you to actually be able to use Boateng, you would be able to play him on 7 chemistry, which again wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. If we look at Boateng's card stats in general, he's still getting upgraded. So people need to realize that you're still getting upgrades in the card. You don't have to touch the defending too much, right? So if you want to make him very attacking oriented, you can actually give him a hunter card with 7 chemistry. Excuse me, with 7 chemistry. Have a player who's 4-star, 4-star with good acceleration, sprint speed, and good shooting stats in general, with already very good defensive stats and good physical stats in general. So you can work with that. If you want to make sure that his defensive stats are god tier with already good shooting stats, you can give him the shadow card, which will boost his pace by a little bit and his defending by a little bit, which is already very good. So that's the way that you can work it out if you want to put both Vardy and Boateng in the team to make a team around, right? With this squad, the only special version of the card that you would probably have to buy is Sterling's card, because Sterling would have to be a right wing to be able to fit in that formation really nicely. Or there might be another formation that I just don't know about. You have a good goalkeeper in Farman that has the leg save trait, so obviously that'd be the most ideal thing to do. But yeah, this is another team that you can work with. The problem with this team, and this is something I am going to tell you guys, the problem with this team is that if you want to rotate to a different formation, it's a little bit tough, right? Because if you put, if you have like 3 pure center midfields with no pace, right? You can't really push them off to the side. So you put Sterling here. Boateng would probably be one of your CDMs, right? You would probably do something like this, where you have Vardy up top as a striker, Royce as the left mid, Boateng. Pogba would be okay as a cam because his long shots and his passing would be dirty, but his pace would definitely be lacking. So your build-up play would have to be a little bit slower with his card. But as a cam, he would definitely play the role quite nicely for sure. But you're being more defensive oriented with a team like this. So high work rates with medium. They won't stay back that much, but they'll have a decent presence pushing forward as well. So this is an interesting squad that you can make as well. Right-footed on the right side, 4-star weak foot on the left side with 90 shooting, so that's nice. Vardy, telling him Vardy actually has a trait of press against the defensive line, so that's going to be very nice to have. A decent back four and a good goalkeeper. So those are some examples of some squads that you can make that you can have fun with. Now, in terms of value for 2.5 million, I would probably pay the extra 400k for the other squad, because the other squad just looks a little bit more pleasing to the eye in terms of what you're getting, the rotations that you can possibly make, and all those kind of things. So that's just a fun type of video that I want to make to try to get as much meta as I can possibly can in a team where you're putting some of these players in a squad where you can have fun with them, as well as switch to whatever formation you want. Because with this team, right, you can actually switch to a 4-3-3 as well. So if you're a fan of the 4-3-3, you can do that. Sven Bender as your center mid, Boateng off to the left or right, probably the left side, Vardy as your striker, Royce on the side. So you can switch to a 4-3-3. If you want to switch to the false 9 variation of the formation, you can actually do that as well, right? Same exact concept where you can put all these players. So the only situation would be if you put like a 4-2-3-1. The only situation would be the cam spot, right? But it would have to be Pogba if you put him in that cam spot. So those are some interesting squads you guys can make with some of the Team of the Season players if you want to mix and match with a lot of different guys in the team. If you guys want to see more of these types of videos, be sure to drop a thumbs up on the video and let me know in the comment section down below. If you guys did enjoy it, please drop a thumbs up on the video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It would definitely help with the channel a lot. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.